4 images at a time, such as the quad that I'm in, or if I want to set my standard preset to 1 at a time, I certainly can do that. If I do want to start off with a quad and then perhaps I want to just see 1 image at a time, I just simply double click, and you'll notice that on the left hand side I've got some additional tools here that pop out for zooming, panning, inversion, rotation, brightness, contrast, things like that. I can also stop my image and then scroll individual frame by frame if I chose to do that, and a double click will bring me back to my quad screen view. One of the biggest advantages of our application in our imaging area for cardio studies is the fact that we are a vendor-neutral system, and we do allow an extension of your ultrasound machine, for lack of better words. So you'll notice here that you'll have a complete measurement suite, so that in the event you wanted to modify or take additional measurements that the sonographer didn't perform on the machine itself, you have then the ability to do that here. Now, of course, it's customary for the sonographers to always take measurements intra-procedure, and those measurements will come over and populate into what we call as the measurement worksheet. In the event that someone modified or took additional images or measurements of those images, then you would have column 2 completed with that particular measurement, and then you can determine which one of those measurements or an average of those measurements do you want to update the report. So I'll show you a couple of quick measurement options here within our application, and then some of the advanced applications such as a bookmark, perhaps that we wanted to do a quick LV analysis. So I'm going to right click on that 3D image and I'm going to jump into the LV analysis package. Now there's some underlying algorithm here, as you can see, back to my tracking revisions. It did a pretty good job. This is not the best image, but again, I wanted to choose one that was more realistic. So if you disagreed with the wall detection of any of these views, then you have the ability to modify them based on your particular liking. You'll notice that you've got your anatomical display here, and if we're ready, we can jump right back to the analysis, which is where we were. We can adjust the speeds here as well. So right now I think it's defaulted to 100, but if we wanted to slow that down a bit, we could certainly do that. And then you have all of the particular measurements: twist, torsion, global longitudinal strain, etc. If you wanted to apply strain here, you certainly have some strain maps that you can apply that gives you some additional measurements here. So you've got your time to peak with your basal, mid, and apical, your peak measurements, and your end-systole measurements as well. You have then the ability here to take a secondary capture with this camera icon in the top right-hand corner, and that'll save this information and all these measurements back to either the measurement worksheet and or save that image to the end of your study. Closing out of this particular advanced package, we have the ability to save that as a bookmark and to save those measurements. So we'll go ahead and do that and then hit exit. And if I come back to all of my images, you'll see that image that we saved here at the end. Additionally, you have the ability to look at prior studies here. So this is the value of our core single platform. And you'll notice that these that are representative here are ones that met my relevancy rules. So within our workflow engine, you can place relevancy rules to pre-cache or preload prior studies that you would need for differential or comparisons. So I'm going to actually look at my patient record and see that there's a lot more prior studies here that maybe didn't meet my relevancy rules, but that doesn't mean we can't view them. So what I'm going to do is advance to another hanging protocol, just with a quick click of an arrow to the right, and this will advance me to the hanging protocol where I want to see my cross-modality specialty. And I've already kind of prepped this one up. So what you're looking at here is the current active study indicated with the blue A, and on the clinical sidebar here, that's indicated with this one being blue with that representative A. Okay, I've pulled in a prior study, which is from the orange date of service here from the echo from 523. I've also pulled in a prior MR, a prior CT, and an X-ray, and those are all representative with the color, and it'll let me know if there's a report available for that as well. So there's a lot of great feature functionality into having one core platform so that you have image accessibility in one location, going back to that total cost of ownership by not having various applications that you have to support train and integrate too. So one of the other things that I'd like to show in our session today is our web viewer. So you'll notice here that I've just logged in basic browser using Chrome. I'm looking at the same patient we were just looking at, and this is my timeline history of all of the studies that have the ability to be saved and stored into our application. This we can iframe into your EMR, so when your clinicians or physicians are within the patient EMR or record, you also get an iframed view of all of the studies that they've had done. And if I'm a particular physician and only interested in CTs, then I could do a quick filter on CTs, maybe on ultrasounds, on x-rays, anything that I want to filter to quickly here, I can do that. Otherwise, we can apply particular themes with those filters automatically applied based on the user role. The other area that I want to talk to you today about is our zero workflow client. So what is our zero workflow client? So it's taking all the great feature functionality out of our diagnostic desktop that we just covered, and it's presenting those feature functions for you in a web environment also. So you'll notice that you've got all your great workflow activity overviews here that we've already reviewed in the diagnostic desktop, including our conferencing here as well. So if I were a particular physician and I was, out and about on the floor at home, in my office, etc., and I wanted to quickly log into the system via our Zero Workflow client and read my ECGs, then I would jump into my ECG work list and select my patient, and my ECG DICOM waveforms are presented to me. I've got some additional feature functionality here, so if I wanted to zoom or maybe change the presentation of what I'm looking at from the different waveforms that I've received from that ECG cart, I certainly can do that. You'll notice that on the right-hand side, we do get all the measurements that the ECG cart has sent us and also the analysis of that waveform information as well. Here I can again place some additional measurements or do some modifications if I wanted to, and I can update the measurements that I would like to perform here. I can also change my speed, I can change the gain, I can do certain things like that, and I can also add in additional findings. So if I wanted to add in a left bundle branch block, then I can again continue to drill down on that. If I disagreed with any of the analysis that the cart sent me, I can simply just put that to the trash or deselect it. From a comparative perspective, you'll notice in my top right-hand corner, there's a quick compare. So this will give me my representation as I have it right now as horizontal with my current study on the top and my prior study on the bottom, giving me quick access to review those. This can also be set up in a vertical presentation if I wanted. Here's where I have the ability to then sign off, or perhaps maybe no report is needed for this particular study. This again ties back to our workflow engine rules so that you can complete your work either in a diagnostic workstation or remotely on the web. Okay, I'd like to go back to our work list now and jump into another study so you can again see quickly how we would access imaging from our web portal. So you'll notice here that our imaging is going to load for us again automatically. My preferences are going to be taken into account for my display of images. Again, just like in the desktop we showed earlier, a double click is going to give me a single view, a double click back to my quad view. Here's where then I have the ability again remotely to do some additional measurements if I chose to. And I have the ability also in my priors to review those prior studies. So if I wanted to quickly review that ANGO, as I click on that and then bring in that particular image, if it were, I think this one is a play, it will play automatically for me. So again, I've got that great cross-modality functionality, review side by side in my web client as well. And if my particular patient had a report, and let's open up another particular study here. Let's see, we'll open this particular study. You'll notice that I have either a full image view or I can split my screen and have imaging on one side and report on the other. Again, if I wanted to close out imaging and have full reporting, then I have the capability to either begin, start, modify, edit, or append a report that was already final, perhaps. So I could go through my workflow of creating a report and then sign off on that report from here. So that's a quick overview of not only our diagnostic client, but our zero client as well. So keep in mind that our solution for enterprise imaging is a complete CVIS solution. So not only do we offer reporting and post-processing image analysis for all the procedures that you're doing within your department. So I hope you've enjoyed this video today, and we look forward to working and talking with you in the future.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today covering cardiology in this virtual lecture. Please feel free to leave comments and questions in the chat and we will follow up. Raf, thank you for joining us today as well.
Thank you for joining us.
In radiology, reporting is a critical but also time-consuming part of the imaging workflow. The report is the most important means of communication between the radiologist and the clinician or referring physician. It must provide clear, meaningful diagnostic information. It is part of the patient's imaging health record, and well-constructed reports are essential to high-quality patient care. At the same time, reports also need to be available quickly, so it is important for diagnosticians that they can create their reports smoothly and efficiently. This is exactly what the Precision Reporting module of AGFA Healthcare Enterprise Imaging enables radiologists to do. It is a reporting framework that is fully integrated in the Enterprise Imaging platform. It guides the user through content, diagrams and graphs, annotations and more to create high-quality, consistent reports. One of the main advantages of precision reporting is that it enables any radiologist to use a standardized terminology, assessment structure, and classification for reporting and data collection. Standardized report creation improves the overall level of report quality. Precision reporting guides the report author with interactive and visual components that help eliminate manual input and at the same time include precise data. This increases accuracy and productivity. Precision reporting helps to establish a clear communication between peers to enhance diagnostic decision-making. Body part or procedure-related report results are presented in a structured and comprehensive way to give referring physicians all the key information at a glance. And the consistent terminology ensures everyone is always speaking the same language. With precision reporting, reports are created using customized templates. The templates include components that make it easy and fast to input data, such as calculated fields, interactive diagrams, graphs based on measurements, and data fetched from external sources. They also encompass various graphics and diagrams, screenshot copy and paste, and automatic inclusion of prior results showing trends. In essence, you can specify your own precision data that match your specific needs with the help of AGFA's professional services team. Enterprise Imaging Precision Reporting includes two predefined templates. The first template is related to breast imaging. Using predefined graphics and fields, it allows you to enter BI-RADS scores and findings in a structured and visual way, according to ACR guidelines. This allows for clear and consistent mammography results communication, easier collaboration across hospitals, and support for scientific research. The other default template is used for prostate reporting. The template is also in accordance with the ACR guidelines and in combination with advanced MRI imaging techniques helps improve early diagnosis of prostate cancer, thereby reducing unnecessary biopsies and treatment. With precision reporting, radiologists can make standardized reports better and faster. This helps to improve diagnostic decision-making and the delivery of patient care.
When you want to review a case with the referring physician, get more details on the patient's condition, or get a second opinion on a difficult case from a specialist, how do you reach out? Connecting with referrers and peers is made easy with AGFA Healthcare's Enterprise Imaging for Radiology. See in a glance who is online and available so you can broadcast a question or ask it via chat. And go far beyond working with screenshots. How about visual collaboration on the actual study? Discussing it with your colleague while looking at the same image? Using the built-in clinical tools while you both see in real time what you are doing? The easy-to-access web interface even lets you share data from a mobile device. Reaching a fast, comprehensive, and mutual diagnosis has never been so straightforward. With enhanced collaboration and communication, AGFA Healthcare's Enterprise Imaging for Radiology allows your work to be seen and valued, keeping it at the forefront of patient care. Enterprise Imaging for Radiology. Collaborative conferences are essential to good patient care, but organizing and preparing the meetings can be a real headache. Agendas, work lists, cases to discuss, attendees, there are a lot of details to follow up. With AGFA Healthcare's Enterprise Imaging for Radiology, it's easy to create your conferences. Set the schedule, link them to a specific department or facility, and define the frequency of the meetings. And to provide efficiency, you can indicate a maximum number of tasks to be discussed during each session. Based on predefined rules, studies are added to the right conference and discussion tasks are created all automatically. You can review, create image snapshots, and add comments. Of course, you can still manually add, remove, or move studies to the next session for maximum flexibility. Designate an administrator, presenter, and participants, and it allows you to easily keep track of who attended. Participants from other sites and facilities can join in remotely too. Whether you are setting up a multidisciplinary meeting, tumor board, internal quality control, or teaching conference, you can automate your collaborative workflow, saving time and making you more efficient. Does this sound familiar? It's a busy day and you've come across an interesting case for your research and students. You want to flag it, but you let it pass because you don't have the time to deal with the cumbersome process. Without relevant clinical details or keywords, it is difficult to search and find files. But what if you could flag a special finding or interesting case easily in seconds? If you could anonymize images and studies and tag them with relevant clinical details with just one click? If you could include pathology, anatomy, and keywords, you can. AGFA Healthcare's Enterprise Imaging for Radiology is designed for academic institutes. What's more, the solution lets your residents compare actual production studies against the teaching files at any moment using a powerful display protocol. Flexible terminology and rich clinical data make it easy to find previous studies and research reports. You can share and transfer your knowledge to the next generation and be assured that you're contributing to the continuity of the delivery of care and education for the future. There's a wealth of images being created all over the hospital, but if images can't be accessed, they don't add value. By unlocking access to all of the patient's images, caregivers can finally see the patient's entire imaging story. The Zero Viewer is built on zero-footprint technology and is strictly web-based. It requires no downloads or installs whatsoever and can also be used on mobile devices. Discover some new features today. One example is the new patient-centric interactive timeline. It offers a thumbnail-enabled longitudinal view of all the patient's images, study by study, over time. Chat and share supports communication via instant messaging services so users can share information, send notifications, ask for a second opinion to improve collaboration. Other enhancements include being able to view and interact with DICOM ECG waveforms alongside available reports. Multimedia import functionality enables the uploading of patient-centric content right into the EHR, captured on the desktop or from the camera of a mobile device. Another feature is the Zero Exchange Network. With the Zero Exchange Network, users can query imaging sources from different hospital sites simultaneously and see all the studies available for a patient, creating a true longitudinal record. Discover more and schedule a demo today.
Diagnostic errors in radiology are a major concern. That is why peer reviews are a fundamental part of the radiology workflow. They allow to collect and evaluate data on reading errors and act accordingly.
Research has indicated that every day a radiologist commits 3 to 4 diagnostic errors. And diagnostic errors contribute to an alarming 10% of patient deaths in the US. For quality assurance, the radiology community therefore advocates peer review, where radiologists evaluate and score their peers' reports.
Peer reviews are mandatory for various regulatory instances or accreditation programs. AGFA Healthcare has developed a module that supports peer review in our enterprise imaging platform. Peer review tasks are automatically triggered, and the radiologist doesn't have to open a new screen or a new application to complete them. In this way, it becomes part of the radiologist's daily work. Basically, with our module, we can make peer review as convenient as possible.
Now, although traditional peer reviews are initiated with the best intentions, there are several drawbacks to them. Generally, 20% of the studies present 80% of the learning opportunity. So by randomly selecting studies for peer review, a lot of learning opportunity is missed. There is also very little feedback to the report author, and the scoring of the reports often leads to blame culture.
That is why we developed our module much further, so it supports a true peer learning workflow within our enterprise imaging platform, and not only peer review. Peer learning does not focus on how many reading errors occur. Instead, it lets radiologists understand how and why an error occurred, so they can learn from this.
The ECR Red Peer White Paper on peer learning states that learning from mistakes should be the most important outcome, and the process should change drastically to enable this. We specifically developed our entire module based upon their recommendations.
It features the possibility to trigger peer reviews manually or automatically, and it offers anonymized built-in feedback loops that allow authors to learn from the advice of colleagues. Another key property of our peer learning module is its configurability. Workflows can be easily tuned from very simple to pretty advanced.
As an example, let's take Anna. She's a resident radiologist and reports a chest CT. A few weeks later, John, the senior radiologist, starts reading a follow-up chest CT on the same patient, and he finds out Anna missed a small lung nodule in her report. So John creates a peer learning case and assigns it to a random radiologist as a learning opportunity, in this case George. Now George writes down his findings and sends it for review to Jeff, the peer learning administrator. Jeff reviews George's feedback and thinks it's an interesting case for a peer learning conference. The conference results in a number of follow-up actions. A follow-up task is created for John as Anna's supervisor. He carries out the follow-up actions and closes the case. Anna gets notified that there is a case on one of her reports and can read the comments.
The entire peer learning workflow is completely embedded in the radiologist's routine workflow. Enterprise imaging is a task-based system, and thanks to the seamless integration of the module, all peer learning related tasks also appear in the activities overviews. AGFA Healthcare's peer learning system is designed to improve collaboration and foster a culture of teamwork and feedback. It's learning at its best, and that is the ultimate goal.